What
All right,
up?
another week.
Woo!
Good. It's been a good week. It's been a good week. What's interesting is I actually saw this podcast. They were talking about how when it comes to startups, it's almost become just as important to raise your next round as it is to actually build a company. And
Yeah.
so when you look back at the behemoths that we have today, like the Nvidias, the Amazons, the Microsofts, the
Mhm.
Apple, like these companies, they were built off of operational efficiency and smart business moves, which
Mhm.
caused them to grow over time. And so their core metric and internal metric was growing the business, finding a product that people want, and then at scale distributing that. And capital was a resource to be able to do that. Now it's
Mhm.
almost kind of become in the startup ecosystem a game of how much capital can you raise.
Yeah, even or like can be thought of as more important than the actual company or product itself. And I kind of wonder when we were planning out what to talk about on this week's podcast, I was wondering like when it shifted or how it shifted. And I think like today's market world, the impact of social media and everything being a little bit more like immediate and
Hmm.
like information at your fingertips. I think there is just this like lack of patience. And I don't even know if there is like a lot of reward right away. It's the like grueling grind to actually be like capital efficient or even like bootstrap your company and be do it yourself. You don't see the same kind of like immediate success, or yeah, your ego does not get fueled by doing it the hard way. If you're fundraising and you hit those numbers, you're gonna look great, but your company might actually be shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exactly what they were talking about. They're like, just because you see a competitor raise a big round doesn't immediately mean you're screwed and you have to go raise money. Like, raising money is not a metric for success. You got to pay
Mhm.
attention to your customers, you got to pay attention to your growth, you got to pay attention to your revenue. And I
Mhm.
think going back to your question about when this kind of flipped, social media has been a huge factor, especially with Y Combinator and like A16Z. They invested in Cluely. Cluely was 100% off of promotional growth. Like, they were very good at social media. They were getting a lot of views and they were doing controversial stuff. Those views converted to revenue. And so they were doing like $6 million a year in revenue very, very quick off the bat.
Mhm.
Um, but that big funding announcement of like we closed $15 million on our
Mhm.
round, led by A16Z. I think the thing about the funding announcements is that as a founder, it is a great thought to be like, oh, I've got 15 million bucks in the bank.
Mhm.
That is fantastic, and it's overnight, and you get the cash in the bank.
Yeah.
But also from a venture capital standpoint, they are looking for, they are betting on the next big, like they want the next big Google, they want the next big um, OpenAI, that kind of thing. Because
Mhm.
of that mindset, they are not looking at your business the same way you are. So when you look at your business, you're thinking about it as this is what I'm spending all my day, all my time, all my life on. They're looking at it as bet number one out of 1,000. And so
Yeah.
for them, they just want you to be like big and flashy, and they want to know quickly if this is going to be huge or not. But sometimes businesses take time to build when it
Mhm.
comes like down to the fundamentals. And just
Yeah.
because it's not big and sexy at the moment doesn't mean that you're actually behind. And so for me, it's been challenging to play this mental game of like, yes, okay, it's fun to go out and fundraise,
Mhm.
but we're growing. We have a big pipeline. We have the people that we need. Do I really need to go out and raise right now? Like, is it
Yeah.
extremely urgent? So
Yeah.
it also depends what you're doing, I
Yeah,
think.
this topic is close to home for us with Orbiton. This was another kind of talking point I had about, obviously, like you said, when you fundraise and you get that money right away, there is benefits always. Like we need to pay the team. There's like cost to running a business, to starting a startup, to doing all of these things.
Mhm.
But where is that line where the benefits then stop and you stop operating at your full potential because you could get lazy with the fundraising? and the team gets lazy, the founder, the just all of it. I'm not even talking about Orbiton now, just in general. Like, where is that line then? Because sometimes you need capital, like you said. Sometimes you
Hmm.
need to, that's
Yeah.
beneficial, necessary. But sometimes, like overfunding
Hmm.
can make companies worse and can make the people lazier. Where is that line, do you think?
I
When do
think
you
it's
know?
it's like a cultural thing too. Like,
Yeah.
so for example, like you have an idea, so you go to angels, you go to friends and family, and you say, "Hey, I need some capital. I have this idea. Do you want a piece?" And so then you raise that initial friends and family capital, and you go out there, and then you build your product, and it either works or doesn't. And so the question on how much capital you raise basically determines how much time you have to live to figure out this problem. So
Yeah.
it's a reason why investors always talk about focus on the problem, not your product, because your product at the early stage you don't really know, but you know the problem in the space. Also, in the beginning, you could have a great product idea. It could be correct. You could build it, but it takes time to make it ready for payment, like the quality that's necessary to
Mhm.
get compensation for it. And then in that time frame, you also have to then close deals, do sales, and that takes time for those sales to close. So I think
Yeah.
if it's a situation where you're growing really fast and you're like, okay, we're inundated with
Mhm.
companies onboarding us, there is no other way for me to, or actually not no other way, but the most efficient way for me to grow my team and
Mhm.
get the talent I need and sustain this trajectory is to raise capital. Then it makes sense to go out and raise your next round after a seed because
Yeah.
then you can inject that and then you go that much faster. So that's a scenario where it's good, but it's still like this is the double-edged sword because there's a lot of benefit from being frugal and building the habit of frugality in a business so that you have to be resourceful and find other ways to get things done. I don't think there's actually a formula. I think the laziness comes from the culture standpoint and how easy the capital comes in and how the CEO or founder manages that. There's a saying that Sean Kunkun from Dolly Varden says all the time about fundraising, which I love. He says the best time to raise capital is when you don't need it. And then his point is also that he's always like he's always
Mhm.
working on fundraising and always meeting with CEOs, or sorry, with investors as a CEO. And so the balance is that you never stop the fundraising process. But what you do is you continue to talk to people, and then when you need that injection and you have enough conviction and at a valuation and price point, then you pull the trigger. But
Yeah.
raising for the sake of raising can kill a business because then you
Yeah.
have all these investors who put their money in for you to go in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all those points. I think super important, especially for a startup, the people are the most important. Like, are you
Mhm.
surrounding yourself with people that see the vision, that can keep working, that care about it? Like, yeah, even without all of that immediate capital. And then also, I liked the point about the pain point, like, especially for us with Orbiton, it's like we know what we're doing. And
Mhm.
over the past year, the product has changed. It
Mhm.
will continue to develop and change. It's not the first step isn't perfecting the product. It's getting in the industry and the pain point that you're solving, and then growing and evolving as needed.
Yeah, 100%. And then the cool thing too is like there's this guy who's doing our corporate development, VP of Corp Dev, Jordan, and Jordan is killing it. And so like the first month he came on in July or August, he set up a ton of meetings. We probably had 50 meetings with various companies in the mining sector.
Mhm.
And none of them were negative, but it's a B2B enterprise sales process. Like it takes time to build
Yeah.
trust and close these deals. And so we started those conversations in July and August. We started all of them at around the same time. He came on, booked a ton of meetings. And so when you
Mhm.
look at a graph, it's kind of like we've spiked up in meetings and then we've kind of been steadily growing in the number of new companies we meet each month. We're doing like roughly 40, 50 demos a month. So it's steadily growing each month. But at the same time, those people are now starting to get to the point of the life cycle where they close. So that's how you start to get this like exponential curve because you meet a bunch of people in month one, but all of them probably won't close until month 5 or 6 or 7. And so what happens is you get to month 5, 6, 7, and you get all these deals that are closing. And
Mhm.
everybody's like, oh my God, you're growing so fast. But for you, you've been doing the same thing for like 6, 7 months. Just now it's starting to show.
Yeah, B2B enterprise software sales will have a longer cycle than other sales cycles. You won't see that same kind of immediate reward for all of the work you're
Hmm.
putting in.
No, no, you won't.
It's
But what's nice is that it's stickier. So like one of the
Mhm,
big problems in AI right now is stickiness. Now the
mhm,
vertical that we're selling into, it's a vertical where it takes time to get in the door, takes time to build the relationship. Trust is huge. So reputation, how you handle each client is massive. But the other thing too is that once they start working with you, they won't really churn unless you do a poor job. The other point as well is that getting in the door with these companies takes time. And so the momentum effect of it is amplified
mhm,
by just how we take the approach. And also, I feel like AI in the beginning it starts with like AI is adopted by people who are extremely tech savvy. So you get the
yeah,
high tech companies, the high tech consumer companies, they adopt it really quick because there's less friction. Then it kind of goes down and you're like, all right, what other verticals exist that could use this, but maybe they're resistant to change or they're not as technically advanced, whatever it might be. And so I feel
mhm,
like we're selling into a market that is not the first layer that AI penetrated into, which is like data centers and all these tech companies and coding, but we're selling into the second layer. The advantage though is I feel like we're ahead of a lot of people in this second layer because everybody's focusing on the easy stuff.
mhm.
And so we're looking at the hard things, and so I think it's going to pay off as time goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that investor relations would necessarily be the easiest sell to technology. They haven't exactly proven themselves very progressive in a lot of ways, but they're coming around. You're obviously more sales than I am. You've been talking to a company. When do you think that they are kind of just like entertaining you to then like, oh, I'm gonna close this at some point.
Mhm.
This is going to work. It's stuck.
It's interesting. I do think it's like a natural process of about at least 3 to 4 months. Time goes on, you keep following up with them, they keep seeing the consistency, they see the product get better, they see more companies coming on. You keep going and it kind of turns into a little bit of a FOMO. They're like, oh, okay, this company, oh, they did it. Oh, okay. Oh, they're doing it too. Oh, no, okay. And
Mhm.
so that compounds over time.
Yeah. So once they hit the FOMO, they're in.
That's how it goes. It's the same thing that happened with in the coding space, but in coding, when the FOMO hit, everybody was like, "Oh, if we don't have Cursor, if we don't have Windsurf, we are behind. Our competitors will be able to code faster." The
Mhm.
same thing is like in IR. Once it gets to that point where they're like, "Oh my God," like for example, this company's they're meeting with 50 institutions a month. I'm meeting with two.
Mhm.
I'm way behind, and
Yeah.
that clicks. That's when you get the jump in adoption.
Mhm. Yeah. It's not just one sale. It's like a series of many, many sales throughout. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but I mean, companies, watch out. Your competitors are using Orbiton.
Yeah. Yeah, every day we're getting like we've got 7 demos out right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't be stupid. Sign up.
it's our slogan.
I know.
So for example, like this week we signed on with Lion Rock Resources. And so Lion Rock is a company that we're extremely excited about. They have an asset down in the States. And also we were surprised to see the usage that they've been getting since they put it on their website because they are a smaller cap company, but still
Mhm.
every day it's being used. So that's a really positive sign. And now that we have those trials out, we'll see how they, end up converting. But everybody who's signed up for a trial, we've had 100% conversion to a customer. So we're
Yeah.
very excited to see how that moves forward.
We've got 7 trials going out, right?
7, yeah.
Yeah.
7 currently live. So we'll see how it goes next week. Till then.
All right. Peace out.